Hello and welcome to TVB News. 4 leading property agencies have allegedly conspired to set minimum commission rates for first-hand property transactions. The Competition Commission is taking legal action against Midland Holdings, Hong Kong Property, and 5 senior managers. Centerline Property Agency will not be prosecuted after taking the initiative and offering assistance to the Commission in its investigation. Sharon Tang reports.
For the first time, 4 top real estate agencies in the city, Midland and its affiliate Hong Kong Property, as well as Centerline and its subsidiary Rika Corp, were facing allegations of price fixing. The companies were accused of respectively issuing an internal notice last year asking their agents to collect at least a 2% commission when selling first-hand properties. The content and wording of the notices are basically the same. The incident sparked concerns and prompted an investigation by the Competition Commission in January. The investigation shows that since October last year, senior managers of Midland and Centerline have met at least 6 times, including during an anniversary ceremony of the Estate Agents Authority. They brought up the topic of setting a fixed commission and allegedly agreed on a minimum 2% commission. The Competition Commission considers their action as equivalent to restricting agents to offer buyers a better deal in terms of commissions, which violates the competition ordinance. The regulator took illegal action against Midland Holdings and its affiliate Hong Kong Property, as well as 5 of its managers. It has asked the tribunal to rule that the group has violated the competition ordinance, to fine them and remove the relevant managers from the board of directors. Centerline was not charged in the case.
Centerline is the first undertaking that has met all of the conditions of the Commission's leniency policy. They have come into the Commission applying for leniency on the basis that they can provide substantial assistance for the Commission's investigation and proceedings.
The Commission added without Centerline's assistance, it's impossible the case could be solved within 11 months. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
The Foreign Ministry and U.S. officials expressed hope that this week's highly anticipated meeting between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden at the APEC summit in San Francisco will produce concrete results. This comes after Biden met with Indonesian President Joko Widodo at the White House, where Washington and Jakarta took steps to formalize their closer ties. Daniel Rao reports.
President Xi Jinping and US President Joe Biden will meet on Wednesday on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco. The Biden-Xi bilateral, their first in a year, will be the marquee moment of the forum, which is dedicated to promoting trade, investment and economic development among nations around the Pacific Ocean. US officials have set relatively low expectations for the Xi-Biden meeting, suggesting that simply getting back to a baseline of routine communication would be a good benchmark for success. Still, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said there could be some movement towards shared goals through intense diplomacy.
We anticipate that the leaders will discuss some of the most fundamental elements of the US-PRC bilateral relationship, including the continued importance of strengthening open lines of communication and managing competition responsibly so that it does not veer into conflict. The way we achieve that is through intense diplomacy. That's how we clear up misperceptions and avoid surprises.
In Beijing, the Foreign Ministry said the 2 presidents will have in-depth communication on issues of strategic, overarching and fundamental importance in shaping China-US relations and major issues concerning world peace and development. Russia's Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Overchuk will represent his country at the summit instead of President Vladimir Putin, who is under an International Criminal Court arrest warrant. US officials said Overchuk will have the opportunity to fully participate. Ahead of the summit, Biden hosted Indonesian President Joko Widodo at the White House. Biden celebrated a new era in the relationship between Washington and Jakarta as the 2 nations formalized close ties. The 2 leaders discussed expanding trade of critical minerals like nickel, which can be used to produce electric vehicle batteries. But there are also signs of friction over the war between Israel and Hamas. Widodo urged the US to do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza and have a ceasefire for the sake of humanity. General TV News.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen opened a meeting of global finance ministers at the APEC summit in San Francisco by outlining the goals the summit hopes to achieve. Financial Secretary Paul Chan attended the meeting. Chan briefed the participants on Hong Kong's latest economic and financial situation, as well as the city's drive to actively nurture new industries to create new impetus for economic development. At the meeting, Yellen outlined the Biden administration's desire to stabilize trade relations with China. She also reiterated the importance of APEC economies to the U.S. and the world's economic future.
APEC economies are at the center of the global economy and our world's economic future. The United States' engagement with other APEC economies strengthens the U.S. economy, benefits American workers and firms, and advances American interests. It's bringing significant benefits to the region as well. President Biden and I believe strongly in advancing the values we share with our allies and partners in the Asia-Pacific and beyond, while also pursuing a healthy and stable economic relationship with China.
Battles between Israel and Hamas around hospitals forced thousands of Palestinians to flee to perceived safe havens. Israeli forces say they have found Hamas tunnels and weapons underneath a children's hospital in northern Gaza. The fighting was triggered by Hamas's October 7th surprise attack on Israel, during which they captured around 240 hostages. Hamas says it is ready to free up to 70 women and children held in Gaza in exchange for a 5-day ceasefire, an offer Israel is unlikely to embrace. Nasvi Karim has more.
A shaft plunging 20 meters down, leading to tunnels.
We are now
at the bottom, rooms with signs that people lived there.
Of the hospital.
And weapons. All these, according to Israel's military, the IDF, were found under the Rantisi Children's Hospital in northern Gaza. Proof, they say, Hamas is using hospitals as a cover for their operations, and that hostages at one time were kept there.
This kind of gear is a gear for a major fight. These are explosives. A woman, clothes, and a rope. A rope next to the legs.
Hamas denies building their command centers and weapons storage under hospitals. The Palestinian group said on Monday that it offered Israel the release of up to 70 women and children in exchange for a 5-day truce, allowing for more humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. Hamas spokesperson Abu Ubaidah said talks were held with Qatar as an intermediary, claiming that Israel wanted 100 hostages released. Israel has remained steadfast that no ceasefire is possible until the hostages are freed. Meanwhile, the focus of Israel's Gaza ground operations revolve around the Al-Shifa hospital, which the United Nations says is unable to function because it lacks power, water and medicines. Health officials say around 650 patients and 500 staff members remain, with 2,500 displaced people sheltering in the complex. Thousands of others have headed south, with U.S. President Joe Biden insisting Al-Shifa stays safe.
You know, I have not been reluctant in expressing my concerns what's going on. And it's my hope and expectation that there will be less intrusive action relative to the hospital, with the Qataris engaged, and so I remain somewhat hopeful. But the hospital must be protected.
As more Gaza residents make their way south, the head of the UN's Palestinian agency, Andrea Di Domenico, said a lack of fuel in the strip will hinder aid delivery and could bring communications to a halt by Thursday. During a news briefing on Monday, he said depleting fuel and medical supplies are leaving Gazan lives hanging by a thread. Citing reports from Paltel, Palestine's main telecommunication firm, the UN officials said all the company's systems will be shut down by Thursday. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
The UN flag flew at half-mast at the organization's offices around the world on Monday, and a minute's silence was observed. It was in memory of staff of the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, killed in Gaza since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. At its New York headquarters, the flag was lowered to half-mast. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres led top officials in observing a minute's silence for the 101 staff members killed in Gaza since October 7th. At the UN Staff Union in New York, Acting President Francisco Brito said their colleagues paid the ultimate price while carrying out their jobs to help humanity. He hopes UN staff still on the front lines in Gaza will gain encouragement and carry on their work with dignity and fulfill the organization's mandate. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak discussed pressing foreign policy issues while addressing an audience at the Lord Mayor's banquet in London. This as new Foreign Secretary and former Prime Minister David Cameron outlined his vision for his new role. Cameron was named to the post as part of a cabinet reshuffle that came in the wake of Suella Braverman's dismissal as Home Secretary. Speaking at the banquet in London, Sunak praised the achievements of Cameron's predecessor as Foreign Minister, James Cleverly, who has now taken up the post of Interior Minister. Foreign Secretary Cameron meanwhile said he hoped his vast political experience could help Britain play a part in addressing ongoing global geopolitical tensions.
We've delivered one of the most significant years for British foreign policy in recent times. That's due in no small part to James Cleverly, and I know that he'll bring the same vigour to the equally vital job of Home Secretary. And I'm pleased to have appointed a new Foreign Secretary who will build on everything that we have achieved in the last year.
I hope that 6 years as Prime Minister, 11 years leading the Conservative Party gives me some useful experience and contacts and relationships and knowledge that I can help the Prime Minister to make sure we build our alliances, we build partnerships with our friends, we deter our enemies, and we keep our country strong.
Welcome back. A study on cybersecurity readiness among Hong Kong enterprises has revealed a record drop in their ability to protect against cyber threats. This as the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data suggests that authorities introduce a mandatory mechanism for reporting data leakage incidents. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Cyber attacks against Hong Kong's enterprises are not uncommon. Earlier, Cyberport and the Consumer Council became victims of such attacks. To find out more about the situation and how enterprises are defending themselves against hackers, the Hong Kong Productivity Council surveyed more than 370 enterprises on cybersecurity readiness. The survey indicated the city's enterprise cybersecurity readiness index has dropped by 6.3 points to 47 points, the maximum being 100 points. It is the largest ever drop since the launch of the index in 2018. Survey results also showed over 70% of enterprises experienced at least one cyber attack over the past year, a year-on-year increase of 8 percentage points, with phishing cases being the most common. Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data Ada Chung said certain scammers are already using artificial intelligence as part of their tactics.
We also noticed that there are major developments or new developments in the use of AI, generative AI, and also QR codes in carrying out all these phishing attacks. We consider the trend deserve attention because all these kind of phishing attacks would easily deceive the user to provide their personal data to the scammers.
Chung said her office has already suggested introducing mandatory mechanisms for reporting data leakage.
In a bid to provide enterprises with more access to information on data security, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data launched a data security website and the Data Security Scanner today. The latter offers a self-assessment toolkit for enterprises to check the adequacy of their data security measures. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The chief executive of Macau, Ho Yat-seng, has delivered a new policy address, and the government announced it will continue to hand out cash to residents. Ho delivered his policy blueprint at the Legislative Assembly building. Measures include handing out $10,000 cash to each permanent resident and $6,000 to each non-permanent resident of Macau. This marks the 17th consecutive year the gambling hub has rolled out cash handouts to citizens. The enclave is also set to inject an extra $7,000 into each non-mandatory pension account. Its CE added, although Macau's economy is recovering quickly from the pandemic, he admits some of its industries have not fully returned to normal. Macau will make use of the 25th anniversary of its establishment as an SAR next year to roll out discounts for air tickets and hotels to attract travelers. The Democratic Party's bid for a dry goods stall at the forthcoming Lunar New Year fair at Victoria Park was disqualified. The group initially secured a stall near Tin Hau with a price of $25,000, but was later informed by the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department that its bid has been disqualified. Quoting the auction rules, the department said the government has absolute rights to refuse signing agreements with anyone without providing any reasons. Chairman of the Democratic Party, Lo Kin-hei, said the decision upset him, adding the fair has been a great way to get in touch with members of the public. There have been successful attempts by political groups in the past to use Lunar New Year fairs for promotion or fundraising. In 2021, the stall run by the now disbanded Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China was accused of displaying banners, and its deal with the government department was then terminated. Chief Executive John Lee said today that it would take time for the property market to adapt to new cooling measures, announcing the latest policy address. Musinai reports.
In his October policy address, Chief Executive John Lee announced the easing of spicy measures, stamp duties and charges on non-local property buyers and owners imposed to ease the escalation of house prices in the city. Speaking ahead of his Executive Council meeting today, the CE said the decision is aimed at ensuring healthy development in the property market.
Media reports suggest that real estate agents are getting more inquiries. Buying a property is a major decision. People make inquiries and then they decide based on the actual circumstances in Hong Kong. That's understandable and that's normal.
Recently, some land sales in the city failed to attract bidders. The CE said he understands that developers will take into consideration the overall development of the property market when it comes to bidding for plots. Touching on the recent series of industrial accidents in the city, Lee said authorities have already beefed up safety regulations at construction sites. Meanwhile, the CE also mentioned the district council election to be held on December 10th. 399 candidates will be competing with each other on the day. He urged residents to cast their votes.
Voters, please remember to vote on the polling day. Choose the best candidate, and your vote will help enhance the governance of the district councils and will be conducive to good governance.
To help the public acquire a better understanding of the candidates and their policies, the Hong Kong Coalition will organize a 4-day debate by the end of November. Musinai, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.